and welcome to We're All Fine, the podcast that provides unsolicited advice from totally unqualified people. As ever, I am one of those unqualified hosts, Holly.
And Carly.
We're happy to see you guys today. We're happy to see you guys every week, really.
It's true.
Just to get to chat with you. And mostly, I love that I get to just meet up and chat with you, Carly.
It's pretty much my favorite thing. It's the best. I had one of my other friends today say like, oh, well, because we were spending time together. And she goes, well, I'll let you go. I know you have to go to work. And I was like, it's not work when you love what you do.
Oh my God. Tear. See, this is such a great way to start today's episode because I already feel angsty. Like, I already feel angsty stepping into today's episode because today we're going to be talking about gossip in its many forms and really how it affects everybody, but a lot of times it permeates the world of women, and it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to, Carly.
It doesn't. And I'm sorry. People are probably tired of my feminist antics, but here's the thing, guys. They're gonna keep coming. So hopefully my delightful personality will overshine that for those that have a problem with it. But the patriarchy is the reason why gossip is such a terrible supposed thing, why it can be used as a weapon as opposed to a tool to spread information that is someone's retelling of an event or an interaction with another person. It doesn't have to be a weapon. But, if the patriarchy was just gone and women got to, just be us, everything would be fine.
All right. Well, now that we're starting out on that bit of sunshine for the rest of today's episode.
We don't hate men.
Oh my God. All right. So Carly, knock it out. What is our it could be worse for today?
As I was searching and looking through it could be worse, I thought about maybe telling stories where gossip hurt people, but I'm really in a world where I want to reframe gossip. I want to reframe it because Holly, I know that you have a lot of insight on this, and I know we'll go into it deeper later, but the actual term of gossip is first found around the 12th century. And what it basically meant was sharing affection with a loved one through words or language. And I love that, right? That was what gossip was. Your gossipers were the people that you could share secrets with or terms of endearment.
That's like my BFF.
Right, exactly.
Just gossiping out of love for each other.
Exactly. And it was not until 1547 where gossip really kind of took a turn. There was a proclamation that was issued in 1547. There were similar laws or proclamations in the US and in the UK, but it was for, not in the US, oh my God. UK and France, I think it was, forbidding women to meet together and babble was the term that was used.
Babble?
Babble, yes, to babble. So, because women were starting to kind of build through hierarchy and through having very different social structure, women were starting to be able to have jobs like thinker, which was an actual job where you went to parties with aristocrats and you rubbed elbows and you were the thinker. So it was, you would bring up tasks or you would bring up topics at dinner tables or soirees, and you were interesting. You were a great mind, right? That was a real job.
Okay.
And that was one of the few jobs that women could do because you didn't have to be literate. Like, you didn't have to be able to read. You didn't have to be able to have craftsman skills or, any of that. And so all of a sudden, women were kind of stirring the pot a little bit and sharing information in a way with other women that men and people in power were not comfortable with. So this proclamation came about in 1547, and here's why it could be worse. is women, the punishment for getting together, gossiping, or babbling was you would be placed in a scold's bridle.
I'm sorry, a what?
And a scold's, SCOLDS bridle.
Okay.
So, a little bit of a trigger warning. This was basically a torture device that would be placed upon a woman who is found to have gossiped or spread information that people didn't think was appropriate. And it was a muzzle style cage that was placed over the woman's head. And there was a spike that went into their mouth that made it to where they were not allowed to speak or would not be able to speak without causing serious harm. So it could be worse because we as women are able to give each other information at least in the US, and in other countries now, where we can speak to each other and give information to each other and warn each other about possible icky people or possible sneaky people.
And damn it,
Be-
we can babble. We can
right?
babble as much as we want.
We can babble like brooks.
Oh,
Take that.
babble
Take that,
party.
jerkheads. So yeah. So there was an intense demonization. And then once we kind of stopped thinking that torture devices were as commonly used, when we kind of stopped that, in the 17th century, you really see the meaning of gossip change. It turned into idle talk or sharing secrets, usually seen as an act of immorality, specifically for women. Female friendships have been used throughout history in witch hunts and in ways to hurt people. I would I would suggest anyone who likes history, Marie Antoinette, I don't remember her name, of course, but her best friend refused to say anything negative about Marie Antoinette, even though they had gossiped to each other and told each other every secret. And Marie Antoinette was kind of a bitch, but she
I've
was
heard
right.
that.
She was ride or die for her best friend, and she actually ended up being stabbed to death in the street by a mob. But she had
Oh.
all of her best friend's secrets and kept them. So, just a thing. We aren't going to be put into schooled bridles, and I feel at this point it is our feminist duty to use gossip the way that it was originally intended. Not to hurt or harm, but to warn.
Yes. I know that there are I've heard of some like Facebook groups that developed where women were putting out like dangerous date experiences that they'd had with certain men and then passing that along so that other women wouldn't find themselves in that situation. And I think social media has provided a great platform for some of that when we're talking about disseminating useful information for women to support women.
Mm-hmm.
However, and this is where I put my big butt in the middle of this conversation. It's a big old booty. My big butt on this is that using gossip the way it was originally intended sounds wonderful. Is like the magic unicorn of female relationships and like sound friendship. The problem is that is not what's going on right now.
It's true. It's true.
Because while there have been all these great social media platforms helping to protect women and support each other and hold each other up, there's just as many platforms out there where talking shit is the play of the day. And you and I were just talking about it off mic of how gossip and the negative side of it, the talking shit part, has become so a part of our everyday. Like every time I'm in the grocery store, I'm in the aisle and all the magazines about every celebrity.
Yes.
And I would love to tell you that I'm the person that's like, ugh, I am not going to give this any of my attention because I am better than this. These people deserve to have private lives and live them how they want to live them. I want to be that person, but I would be lying through my teeth. I totally read the covers of those magazines every damn time.
I do too. Clickbait gets me every damn time.
Oh my God, don't even talk to me about it. I get like my subscription to Apple News, and inevitably there's something in there. Like, why in the hell do I care about what Amanda Bynes posted earlier in the week? I shouldn't care. It makes no difference in my life. And yet I was definitely checking out what Amanda Bynes posted earlier in the week.
Oh, absolutely. My worst one is I've never seen an episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians ever. I
Yeah.
just haven't. It's not my thing. But anytime I'm scrolling on Facebook or Instagram and they're like Kim Kardashian, blah 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 blah, I'm like, oh, what'd she do? What happened? What's going Tell me all of the very most intimate details of your life. And I watch a lot of reality TV. I love shit that is salacious. And I know it's something that I want to fix about myself, but I don't know how. I don't know how. And then it's also really hard to differentiate. I mean, of course, with gossip mags and stuff like that, it's very obvious what is
Right,
happening,
right.
what the intention is. But just in day to day, like how do I differentiate between gossip or having a conversation with someone where I can release something off of myself or I can
Well,
feel like I'm using gossip the way that I was supposed to
what
or
a
that we should have?
fabulous question, Carly. What a great question. There's this guy on TikTok, and he did this whole like 4 quadrant chart to help us understand what we're actually doing. So I'm going to try and
Mhm.
explain this the best that I can if you have
Mhm.
not seen this guy on TikTok. Okay, so imagine a 4 quadrant chart. Okay, so we've
Okay.
got arrows going up and down, and then one line that goes side to side. So it crisscrosses it. Okay, so on our arrows that are up at the top and bottom, we've got talking about my bestie and talking about a stranger. Okay, so you've really got those 2 options: talking about your best friend or talking about a stranger. Then
Mhm.
on your
Mhm.
horizontal line, you've got talking to your best friend and talking to a stranger. Okay, so those are
Okay.
your options: talking about your bestie or a stranger, talking to your bestie or a stranger. So here's the deal: if you're talking about your bestie to your bestie, okay, and this could be, it doesn't have to be the same bestie. Maybe you've got some really close friends and you're like, ugh, Brenda, Heather is making me feel terrible. I'm not sure what I did, but she's been upset with me and I'm not sure what's going on. That's called venting.
Mm.
When we're
Mhm.
talking about our bestie to our bestie, we are venting. And more than likely, venting is about releasing about a situation that has happened to us, not necessarily the person themselves, but how we are feeling affected by a
Mm.
situation or a person. So that's venting. Okay.
That helps. Okay.
Then he says if you are talking about your bestie to a stranger, that's spilling tea because you've got all their secrets. You're
Right.
Marie Antoinette's best friend. You don't go and tell everybody.
Mhm.
You don't make that happen.
Right.
You got to be the ride or die because otherwise you're spilling tea. You're sharing secrets that you shouldn't be sharing.
Right.
So then we go to the bottom 2 quadrants. So if you're talking to your bestie about a stranger, that's straight up gossiping.
Mm.
So if
Mhm.
I'm like talking to my very good friends about Kim Kardashian, who I
Yeah.
don't know, I'm just straight gossiping about it. And
Mm. Mhm.
that's right. And that's
Yeah.
really what we're seeing in these magazines and TV shows. This is like the magazines talking to me saying, hey, we're in this together. Open this
Right.
up to read about Kanye's new wife. Like it doesn't, I don't know her. I don't know him. It doesn't concern me.
Right. Right.
Okay. And then the last one, if you're talking to a stranger about a stranger. So this is someone I don't know very well, and I'm talking to them about someone else I don't know very well. That is talking shit, my friends. That is straight
Mm.
talking shit.
That is more organized than all these TikTok ladies' kitchens, like freezers and fridges. Like, this is so. You know who I'm talking about, those people. I'm not even shading them. I love that for them. Like, I have to move shit all the time just to find ranch, but that is so organized. And
Well,
man, if that's not helpful.
some of the other stuff is like the idea, somebody has said that I've read this like a ton on Reddit, which again, Reddit should never be a source for anything, alas. The idea is gossip is like reputation theft. It's hurtful,
Mm.
unfair, and damaging to the victim of the gossip. So when we are talking shit or gossiping, okay,
Mhm.
which we're trying to like bring the positivity back to gossiping. So let's just call it what it is, talking shit. When we're talking shit, we are trying to take someone's reputation. We're trying to demean them, bring them down. So
Absolutely.
I'm like, ugh, Brenda. She is totally untrustworthy. She's
Mm-hmm.
such a bitch. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's talking shit.
Right.
There's nothing helpful, informative.
Nope.
There's nothing there.
It's not a warning. It's not for safety. It's not to give someone knowledge. And that's why I think it's so important to split up what these things are. Because a good vent sesh, I mean, I this podcast, my husband, I can always tell when he listens to an episode because all of a sudden he's starting to like clean up after himself a little bit more, or like a healthy vent
My
sesh
God,
with
that's
my
awesome.
bestie about my other bestie.
Oh my God,
There
I love so much.
there can be positive things that come from that. Spilling tea to me is almost worse than talking shit and putting it this way because you have a bestie or someone that you care about that you are releasing their secrets into the world and again trying to damage reputation.
Right.
But even in this quadrant thing, like gossip is like a stranger to a bestie. So you are giving warning, you are giving information, you are retelling a story. I mean, for years, women had to gossip to tell each other how to save themselves from getting pregnant, what
Mm-hmm.
sex was, like what to expect during sexual acts or any of those things because you could not talk about it. Women's healthcare was written on, and I don't remember the name of them, but I encourage everyone to go and research. There were these tiny little pamphlets that women as a collective would make in like cellars and in very closed off spaces, and then they would pass them to each other to help each other understand about contraceptives, and they were doing it for their besties, for strangers, to help other women. And so that's so important to me, right? So this distinction I think is so powerful because how dare you spill the tea ever about anybody? And then two, how dare you talk shit in hopes that you get to diminish someone's value or ruin the way that they are seen by people around them? Because just because you're talking shit about a stranger to a stranger doesn't mean that that stranger is a stranger to your stranger. Look at how complicated this is, but I hope you all kept up with it.
Oh my God. So when you're talking about women learning about contraception from each other and how this get together, all I could think of was this story that I just heard on another podcast, Strange and Unexplained with Daisy Egan. If you've never
Mm,
heard it, I highly encourage. She's wonderful, super fabulous. But she just told this story of like this little town in Eastern Europe that pretty isolated, and these women were, their husbands were awful, like, abusing these women, beating them, that kind of thing. And when the husbands went off to war, the women were like, I don't know, doing their thing with the POWs, I guess, that made their way over there, whatevs. And then the husbands would come back and go right back to abusing, beating, whatever. Well, there was a woman that came in. She was like the midwife for the town,
mm,
but she was using this special concoction of poison that was just, super effective, and was, sharing it with a couple of women who were like, I can't do this anymore. And
right.
then the women would kill their husband. Then they'd, gossip about it to a couple other women who would then gossip about it. And these women were killing off like husbands and brothers and people who were, for the most part, like horribly abusive and terrible. But some of
Right.
them were also just kind of wanting them out of the way so they could keep doing what they were doing with the POWs. But it was not until they had like the head of the health, blah, 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 for the area that came in to check the records and was like, something's not right in this town. Why? Why are all of these men, like, there's been a whole lot of men dying just like out of nowhere, and all of the women were like twiddling their thumbs like, that is weird. Huh? I
We,
don't
we thought the same thing, Roger.
that's that's
Perplexed we have been.
and they did eventually trace it back to the midwife, but only after like Diane and Susan and everybody else was like, well, I also heard it from Julie. Well, but she told me after she killed her husband. Da, 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 da. Like, it's just, when gossiping takes a hard
Mhm.
left.
Oh, I mean, there is no stronger force in this world than women. So I'm very, very, very sorry that people were harmed because people should not hurt others.
Oh, yeah,
However,
please. I should probably put that out there. That was not like advice or
find yourself a murderous midwife who will
yeah,
solve
no,
your
no, no.
issues.
All terrible, all terrible.
No, but I hear what you're saying though. There's no stronger force. The reason why women speaking to women, especially in whisper, has been so villainized is because we are a force to be reckoned with. And I truly believe the reason why we've been forced to speak into whispers so that we don't have a collective voice in a lot of spaces. So then there comes that like unnecessary, conditioned competition that we are thrust into
Mhm.
at the age of way too young,
Yeah.
and it just keeps going. We are forced almost to talk shit. We are forced almost to do these things. And is there a choice? Absolutely. But until we can kind of shift our culture a little bit, this is where we're gonna be. Because women who come together are fucking terrifying. Sometimes they use poison, sometimes we use legislature. It just depends.
So I want to make sure too that not just you, but our listeners know too. If I sound like I am judging gossipers and how dare you? I need to make sure I rectify that immediately. I am super guilty of this, of
Same,
talking shit. I don't want to say gossip anymore, of talking shit.
same.
And it's I wish I could say like why I've done it, because I haven't like wanted to bring anybody down, but I think maybe in the situation I felt powerless,
Mm, hmm.
and saying what I said about the person made me feel like I had more control in the situation
100%. Oh,
than
yeah.
I did.
Oh, yeah. Talking shit and spilling tea, a lot of times, if you trace that root all the way back, it's going to fall into insecurity.
Hmm.
Either you feel preyed upon or something that you are very insecure about was maybe poked a little bit, or maybe someone didn't like you and you didn't like that. So fuck that person, and here's all the reasons why you shouldn't like them. We
Right.
all, everyone does it. Everyone does it. But there comes a point though where I think understanding someone's intention is the most important, right? Because venting, you and I have vented to about other people to each other. We've come to each other and said, "Hey, this person talks shit about you. This is what they said.
Yeah.
This is how I handled it." And so we've all been all across the board. I mean, in middle school, there was a rumor that went on about me that I was pregnant. This was not the case. And I had these like mean girls come up to me in the hallway and they rubbed my stomach. Like
Oh my
that
God.
was how cruel it got, right? And it
Ugh.
got the rumor mill spread so much that I was pulled into the counselor's office for 3 days in a row and was questioned on whether I was pregnant or not because they did not believe me. And then my mom was brought in as well. All because of this
Oh my
terrible rumor
gosh.
that was started by people that really didn't like me. I mean, just a little bit of trauma from that was so hard. And so we can be weaponized and we can hurt people. But then I've also been the person that's like, ooh, that person sucks, and here's why you shouldn't like them. And am I proud about those things? No. Have I been right before? Yes. But does that justify every time? No. I'm self aware. Like,
uh,
we have to be honest about our interaction with talking
yeah.
shit and spilling tea. Secrets are safe with me. That is one thing I will say. I talk a lot of shit. I don't normally ever spill tea because if you trust me with a secret, I'm like a golden retriever. I'm like, oh my God, you trusted me? I love you forever. And that'll stay with
See,
me usually.
I love that because that suggests that you keep that secret like in the forefront of your brain.
Yeah, a
The
lot of
only
times.
thing that makes me a good secret keeper is that I have the memory of a goldfish. So in the moment that we're talking, I'm like, oh my God, yeah, that's really, and people say like, don't, you can't say anything. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. You got it. And I know that I won't because I've forgotten it 5 minutes later. I have no idea what we were talking about.
Right. Well,
So it's just, if it's not directly affecting me in that moment, I don't remember it outside of the conversation. I'm
right.
hugely engaged and focused on you in the conversation. And then when I walk away, I'm like, that was intense. I just can't remember what for. So
See, like my brain's just like, okay, we'll save the secret. It is a treasure that we will not share with anyone. Like that is I don't know. That's just that's how my brain works because I'm not one to usually share a lot of deep dark stuff or
you're like
secrets
a
with
friend
people.
unicorn, is what you are.
Oh my gosh.
You're
Explain what you mean. I'm humble
You guys
too.
can't see it. Carly like leans in to her camera and she's just like, so like, tell me more. You're just, you really do, like, the fact that you hold that in sort of the forefront of your brain, like you really make a conscious effort to say, like, I hear you, I'm holding on to that for you, and I know that this is an important thing. That's really beautiful. And
Mhm.
that's not like a common thing, I think.
Hmm. Well, I like it when the world around me makes sense, which is why I think I do gossip and do
Mhm.
vent because I'm one, a verbal processor, and then two, I
Right.
need the world around me to make sense, including the people in my world. So if you are uppity about something that pisses me off, I might need to have a vent sesh with someone. And then they
Mm.
can say, oh, well, childhood this or specific this, and then I get it now, right? So I can come to you with understanding because just like most people, I have sometimes a really hard time accepting things that I don't understand and that don't make sense to me. So if you are willing to give me a glimpse into your world and to show who you are by giving me one of your secrets, why am I not going to hold that like dear? You know what I mean? Like you're
I love
giving
that.
me keys to who you are. You're helping me understand who you are. So I'm not gonna screw you over. But I will say the one secret I will always forget because so many people trust me and it's very nice of them to take their debit cards when I've gone on like beer runs or stuff like that. Somebody will be like, "Here, Carly, here's your card." And they will tell me their PIN and I will say it the whole time I'm driving. I'm like, "Yeah, da 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 da."
Wow.
The minute I get up to that cash register, I'm like, I don't know. I think it's four number. Is everybody's four numbers? And then I have to call or text them and it looks like I stole a credit card and it's very scary. So that is one secret that so I can never rob you.
You
So
know what?
there you are.
Everything, see, just another reason you're a good friend. Just because you can never rob me. Whether that is a conscious thing or just subconsciously you are incapable of robbing me,
Yeah.
as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned, that's a quality that
Mhm.
really is lacking in a lot of people. So thanks.
Thanks. Thank you,
Thanks for
Holly.
not being a thief and holding my secrets.
Well, of course, I will, always. And like, I want you to know that I mean, I appreciate you for very many reasons. But one of the things I like most about you is the way in which, like, I will not tell any of you this story. It will go to my grave. But the other day we were talking, and I told you a very terrible, very personal story. And you were, one, able to laugh at me with me. And then you also weren't like, oh my God. Like, I didn't feel like you looked at me differently. And if you did, you at least kept your face the way you are. So I
Because you
feel
know what,
free to do
Carly?
all of those things.
As I get older, you know what I'm realizing?
Hmm.
All of the shit that we're like, I can't believe this just happened to me. I am so weird and strange and all these things. You're not
Right.
everything. Everyone's already had it happen. So it doesn't matter like how awkward or embarrassing or whatever. It's already happened to somebody else. And more likely than not, it's happened to a lot of somebody else's.
Mm. Mm. See, that feels good. See, and we would know that if we were allowed to gossip the way that we're supposed to. Oh, see, look at that.
And scene. All right. That was perfect. Carly closes it out. It's like perfect. All right, you ready for this affirmation for
We're
today?
so ready.
Okay, here we go. I am responsible for myself, and I start there. I am responsible for myself, and I start there. So the whole idea of, you know what? You can't change other people, but you can change yourself. You can make those steps to bring gossiping back as a positive thing. As I have been told a million times, we judge ourselves by our intentions. We judge others by their actions.
Ooh.
If we could really understand that when people do things, that was not necessarily what they were intending to do. We need to understand the intention behind it. And when we do things that hurt other people, we need to understand it doesn't even matter what our intention was. The fact of the matter is our actions hurt them.
Right. So you basically have to Missy Elliott what our initial thing is and flip it and reverse it. So you're all welcome.
Oh my God, I love you. All right. So if you guys haven't, check us out. And you know what we would really, really love, everybody, is not just to check us out on Instagram, but what would be so meaningful is to leave us a review. Oh, yay. If you like the podcast, leave us a review. Go on to Apple Podcasts and tell us what you think. There's some really sweet ones on there, and those reviews help us a ton. So
we do.
Step up. Help us out.
Be a friend.
And we promise if we gossip about you, it's only going to be good, helpful, informative things.
It's true. It's true.
All right. Bye, friends.
Bye, guys.
Love you.